solid enough, the okay vision, I would say, okay at best. Vision, you saw the acceleration and the speed that he brings. It's obviously different than what you've seen from Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco throughout the season. I thought you saw a little bit of toughness in between the tackles as well, just to try and get skinny and try and get a few extra yards. And this is just going to run through all of his carries throughout this one. This is an example just of one where I thought that he could have cut this back up earlier. If he plants his foot in the ground and just takes that gap that's opening up, he ends up getting a good amount of yards and maybe even can break it depending on how he deals with that backside linebacker too. That Norzad, I believe, ends up not being able to totally secure on the backside, but he just takes it a little bit too far outside, ends up running himself into a tackle ultimately. And it wasn't too often where that happened on tape where he just completely missed things, but that was an example of it. Um, this was, I thought, a good run, shakes off the defensive end, is able to take that trap play effectively. How did you guys feel about, Brashard Smith and what you saw out of him?
Oh man, I was honestly pissed because it's like, why? How do you go a whole year and know that you have this kind of talent sitting on your bench? And I know a lot of people are like, well, he was a receiver before he was a running back or whatever. So can he really handle carry? Like, I'm not telling you to get a man 20 to 25 carries a game, or make him the bell cow back, but like, damn, he couldn't get a carry or two or three at least per game, I just don't see how you had this sitting over there, and that run was very impressive with the vision, the cutback, just the agility. Like, we haven't had that in our system here in the last couple of years. Credit to Pacheco and guys like Kareem Hunt for trying to hold us down for the times that they have, but there's just a different kind of gear that Brashard has, in our backfield, and plus adding the receiving ability with that. So it was great to see him, get out there and try to handle some carries and see what he could do. I didn't know he had that kind of contact balance as well either, which surprised me. He ran tough. It's not something that I would want to see him, be, like I said, be the bell cow back and trying to put him out there to handle, the rock 20 to 25 times. But I do think he's worth being, somebody that could come in and spell, a more premier back in our backfield to add some explosion to this offense, and then I also think he has the ability that if, he gets a seam, one of these days, one of these holes open up and he gets a seam, he's gone. You're not catching him once he gets in open field. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was an example of one that he could have taken a little bit earlier to be able to do so. But like you said, you saw a little bit of that contact balance, the way he was bouncing off some of these tackles, and certainly the acceleration to the outside. And then this run, I think, will be the next one, to be able to have the patience to the front side and wait, and then be able to get backside all the way. And then the agility and quickness he showed, obviously, to get back there, too. So it's very impressive. CJ, how'd you feel about his performance?
Well, yeah, I think he showed his versatility. I know a lot of people remember his days at Miami from playing running back, but he played full-time receiver. But he played full-time running back at SMU last year, and I actually thought he did a pretty good job, honestly, handling the workload there. So obviously, coming to the NFL, he's not a every down back, but he's a guy that can come in and share carries and give you maybe 10 to 15% of the touches that you would like a running back to get. So I think this is just, like I said, a preview of what Brashard can bring to this offense. He brings speed and explosion, like DG said. Vision could be better, but let's be honest, these were his first true carries really of the season. Because outside of that, he's getting mop-up duty or spot plays here and there. So he didn't really get a true game plan or emphasis in the offense until a game that was essentially meaningless. I wish he would have got these kind of reps for the last 3 weeks. That would have been great for his development and great for him to watch film over the summer and in spring when they're doing OTAs. But for what he did, I think Brashard had a good game. That's a great vision, great jump cut right there. And I think that's just the only a tip of the iceberg of what this running back room could look like in 2026. Obviously, Kareem and Pop did everything they could, but they just don't have this type of agility or speed like DG just stated. So I think Brashard looked great, and I think he's going to be an even bigger piece for this offense in the 26. But I think ultimately we have to bring a complement guy with him to make this room be at its best. But Brashard can be a weapon for us, bro, when it comes to – there's so many ways you can use him, whether it be jet sweeps, tosses, getting him on the edge, zone game where you can have him cut back. he's just the ultimate playmaker. Every time he touched the ball in the passing game, he did something positive this year, whether it was score, break a tackle, or get a first down. He's just a versatile player, and I'm super excited for him to play this year. I wanted him to play more this year. He was one of my favorite picks in the draft just because watching him at SMU, he did everything, and he carried the workload there. So ultimately, I think he could be an extension of our run game when you give him the ball in the pass game, swing passes, screen games. He's just such a versatile player. Like, I know we all miss Jet McKinnon, but he can really do all of those things and more. Now, the pass pro is the question. Can he really pick up blocks and of that sort? And well, from what I saw in training camp, he left a little more to be desired. Obviously, he's a rookie, so he didn't get that much exposure on it. But from a passing game, receiving, and running the ball, I think every time he touches the ball, he can make a play. Like DD said, he's probably the most explosive player on the team besides Worthy. Anytime he touches the ball, he can score. So if you give him the ball in space and areas, he's going to make guys miss. So I think, like I said, it's only the beginning. Wish we would have saw a lot more. I have no idea why Andy was not playing this kid. I know he was a rookie, but there's no way you saw that running back room and then just sit this kid on the bench the whole year. He easily should have gotten more touches. But 2026 will be the time he fully gets unlocked and we really get to see a full Brashard Smith. So overall, solid rookie year. Could have done a lot more, but I think he showed us a lot what he could be, especially in the return game as well.
Had 26 of his 44 carries ended up coming against the Las Vegas Raiders this year, obviously across those two games, which is funny how that ended up working out. This is very well blocked, by the way, by the offensive line. And there were some aspects of their run blocking that struggled at times. But I thought it was a beautiful trap play. And the really big thing is it's the difference between the Kareem Hunt versus Brashard Smith. Kareem Hunt maybe ends up getting through this hole, but ends up, slowing down at some point. But Brashard's acceleration is real, and he's able to get through there pretty quickly and turn into a chunk gain too. So I was impressed by Brashard Smith. I thought he showed me a little bit more between tackles than I expected to see. I think that you saw obviously the acceleration to the outside. There were cutback lanes that I thought were ultimately missed, but I think he's an RB3. I think he can be a gadget type guy. I think he can give you a few touches here and there. I think he can be used in the receiving game as well. I don't think he's a difference making running back. I think that he's also a returner too, but there's more to him than certainly we got out of him this year. And that's, unfortunately it feels like that's the story of the entirety of the team. CJ, do you want to
have a whole episode with CJ
about me, nigga? Yeah, why that? Nah, I'm playing. I was trying to wipe shit off my screen. My fault.
CJ was like, "Let me just go ahead on Summer Jam
about me,
real quick."
Nah, I'm playing.
But yeah, I was impressed by some of the things that Brashard Smith was able to put on tape. And again, just not enough of him that we saw from this season, especially given how bad the running back room was. There could have been opportunities to show more. You can spend a little bit of time on Dameon Pierce down the line. I didn't really see anything worth clipping as far as when I looked at the tape, though. So we'll maybe circle back on that when we talk a little bit about the in-depth roster aspect of it as well.
Hey, so I know we all wanted to see, but John, you mean that's mean. You didn't have to take shots at Pop like that. That was mean. That's not funny. But no, all in all, I think Brashard should definitely get more touches in 2026. We all wanted to see him play more. I think as bad as this room was and as vastly as we assume Pop's not coming back and Kareem's not coming back, I think it's a pretty obvious that Brashard's going to get a lot more touches next year. But go ahead, D-Man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, that's a little bit about Brashard Smith and some of the things that we saw on tape from him.